The past 4 years or so of MCU content has been in a weird state where there hasn't been a strong sense of direction. There's been more of an emphasis on the quantity of projects getting released rather than the quality of every release. 2021 was the first year the MCU resumed releasing content after the pandemic hit and the conclusion of the Infinity Saga with Avengers Endgame. That year alone had 9 TV shows and movies released on Disney Plus or in theaters. Compare that to when Marvel would release at most 3 movies a year. In that time frame, they've introduced so many new characters you'd think would be the new face of Marvel, or characters that would lead us into whatever next phase before they introduce mutants in the Fantastic Four. As one would expect those characters to be the center focus ever since Disney acquired 20th Century Fox. While the lack of interconnected threads was an issue of the Multiverse Saga, the biggest issue was just simply the downgrade in quality and subpar writing with some of these projects compared to the previous phases of Marvel. It gave people even less reason to care about the new characters and whatever grand plot the MCU was leading towards. Plans for the Avengers movies have shifted immensely, with Avengers 5 initially being titled The Kang Dynasty, focusing on the core Avengers battling the dynasty of Kang seen at the mid-credits scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
They will take everything. So let's stop wasting time.
How many did you call?
All of us.
Yeah, scratch that. We're bringing in Doctor Doom to be the big bad in the newly titled Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. There's the alternative route they could have taken by just recasting Kang the Conqueror after the whole Jonathan Majors fiasco, but I guess they figured it'd be better to go with a better known villain and actor after the failure of Quantumania. It seems like Marvel Studios is in a frenzy of bringing back classic actors in their previous roles or as different characters entirely. Deadpool and Wolverine brought back a bunch of actors from the Fox era, and the big elephant in the room is Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom in both upcoming Avengers movies. But it doesn't stop there. Not only is RDJ coming back, Chris Evans is also set to return in Avengers Doomsday, although at the time of recording, we don't know what character he's playing. He could be playing an entirely different character like he did Human Torch in Deadpool and Wolverine, or return as the main or variant version of Steve Rogers. I really hope they didn't cast Chris Evans just so that he could come back as Captain America from the main MCU timeline in a story taking place after Endgame, because I mean, talk about undermining a send-off after playing the character for 8 years. Back in 2021, Deadline reported that Chris Evans was set to return as Captain America in a standalone movie alongside Haley Atwell as Agent Carter, but it never came into fruition fully as the storyline for the movie couldn't be nailed down, which is a little surprising to me as there are quite a few ideas they could have come up with for a show or movie centered on Chris Evans as Captain America. A popular idea I've heard is a Disney Plus miniseries or theatrical movie about Steve Rogers returning the 6 Infinity Stones to their proper places in time. Considering these MCU Disney Plus shows consist of about 6 to 9 episodes per season, you could have each episode focus on Steve returning one of the 6 stones. It'd be interesting to see him interact with Red Skull after all these years in Vormir, or show him grappling with the decision to stay with Peggy Carter in the past. Hell, the actor for Red Skull in Infinity War and Endgame actually pitched to Marvel Studios a Disney Plus series focused on Captain America's journey to return the Infinity Stones after the events of Endgame. Whatever the story was they were having so much trouble trying to implement into a film probably was integrated into the storyline of Avengers Doomsday, as Haley Atwell is set to return alongside Chris Evans. In regards to who Chris Evans could be playing, I doubt it'd be him coming back as the Human Torch, cause
I don't... Not my favorite Chris.
if they're bringing back the actors of the OG Avengers team, I wonder if they're doing a thing where they bring back those beloved actors as twisted versions of themselves or as separate characters entirely who are evil. We know Downey is coming back as Victor Von Doom and is the primary antagonist. Some have speculated Chris Evans could return as a multiversal variant of Captain America who is affiliated with Hydra instead of the US government. This hasn't been confirmed, but it's been rumored that Scarlett Johansson will also return in both Avengers movies. The idea of these actors coming back in different roles isn't surprising given what's been established in Multiverse of Madness and Deadpool and Wolverine, where the creatives are willing to have actors play multiple versions of themselves across the multiverse, or different characters entirely. If Doctor Doom ends up having his own version of an evil Avengers group face off against the heroes of Earth 616, a part of me doesn't want that simply due to the fact that I will be rooting for the evil team. I'm sorry. Grew up with those actors as their characters since I was in the 1st grade. What did you expect? I don't hate the current lineup of heroes we have in the MCU, but compared to the OG roster, this new team is kinda sorry, I'm not even gonna lie.
Cap, get on.
I ain't gonna lie, Black Panther. We might have to hang this shit up. We can't fight for real, bro.
You supposed to be a leader, bitch.
Fuck
Y'all please help me.
I'm telling you right now, I will kill one of them. Hey, do what he says.
What do you mean, bro? Y'all are sorry as fuck.
Follow the protocol and do what he says.
Oh my God, they're so sorry.
That's actually
ever since Endgame, they've done.
I understand, bro. Like, this shit crazy as a motherfucker.
Some might call it desperate, but the people at Marvel Studios are really making an effort in trying to rekindle the magic of the previous MCU Avengers titles, indicated by the Russo brothers returning to direct the new installments, as well as Stephen McFeely writing the scripts for Doomsday and Secret Wars. For those unaware, Stephen McFeely co-wrote a multitude of MCU films like the entire Captain America trilogy, as well as both Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. Joe Russo went on to explain in an interview with Empire magazine that he and his brother had trouble trying to pinpoint a story for Avengers Secret Wars before they were officially brought on board. They've had conversations with Kevin Feige over the years since Endgame, as they're pretty close with the team over at Marvel. It all came together when Stephen McFeely came up with an idea on how the Secret Wars comic could work in the context of the MCU. The amount the Russo brothers are getting paid to direct both Avengers movies is also a factor that enticed them to come back. Like, hot damn, them boys are reportedly getting paid $80 million to direct both Avengers movies, with RDJ getting paid significantly more than that amount to play Doctor Doom. The Russo brothers and Stephen McFeely coming back to tackle these projects could work, and I really hope it does turn out well, as I'd rather not have the next two Avengers movies become stinkers. There is a massive potential problem, however. Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars is essentially the Infinity War and Endgame for the Multiverse Saga, the epic culmination of what's been set up in these past couple of phases. Doctor Doom is basically the new Thanos, the new giant big bad that causes everyone to band together. But the possible issue with this is how it'll be the first time most of these heroes team up together as a unit, let alone interact with one another. I really think Marvel would have benefited from having at least one smaller scale Avengers movie to establish a new team, rather than having the new Avengers immediately face off against a multiversal threat. I'm not even sure if there is an Avengers team in the current MCU timeline. The closest we've ever gotten to a team is Wong recruiting Shang-Chi in the post-credit scene of his movie, where you see Bruce Banner and Captain Marvel. There's no established team dynamic for the general audience to latch onto and get invested in like there was when experiencing Infinity War and Endgame. Now sure, the first Avengers movie that ended phase 1 was the first time those characters interacted with one another, but the difference there is that we didn't have to wait that long to see those established characters cross over. Captain America's first solo movie came out only a year before Avengers, same with Thor. Iron Man 2 released 2 years prior to Avengers, which included the first appearance of Black Widow. Hawkeye made his first appearance in the first Thor movie, and The Incredible Hulk released 4 years before Avengers. After the end of phase 1 leading up to Infinity War, those characters made frequent appearances in their own movies or in other projects throughout phases 2 and 3. It was made painfully obvious who the main players of the MCU were. It established the core relationships for the next 6 years. Compare that to whoever the future Avengers lineup is going to consist of. Characters like Shang-Chi are gonna go 5 years without a single appearance in a main MCU project between his solo movie and Avengers Doomsday. The only thing he's shown up in was in an episode of What If Season 3 where he and Kate Bishop were heroes in the 1800s, as well as in an episode where him and a few other characters went in a giant mecha robot suit. Sam Wilson would have only had one movie in an episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier featuring him as the new Captain America before bringing back Chris Evans in whatever role. Do the Eternals even matter at this point? We know the body of the celestial Tiamat, who was supposed to emerge from Earth, will be used as adamantium in Captain America Brave New World. But as far as we know, the Eternals characters themselves might not serve any purpose, as there doesn't seem to be any future plans for them anytime soon. What's Clint Barton and Kate Bishop been up to since the first season of Hawkeye? I guess Kate's being recruited into Kamala Khan's team of young Avengers or champions, whatever they're gonna call it. Is She-Hulk supposed to be in the 5th Avengers movie? Is Moon Knight ever gonna pop up again? Where the hell is White Vision at? Mid-credit scene of the Marvels showcased Monica Rambeau being trapped in an entirely different universe with the X-Men. I wouldn't be surprised if they forgot how at the end of Secret Invasion, there is a literal Skrull running around with the powers of several characters in the Marvel universe. Secret Invasion is trash, don't watch it if you haven't already. I'm not saying every single character has to pop up every 2 to 3 years, but when nearly every member of your future roster has only shown up once, never to be seen again for almost 5 years or so before a big Avengers team up, I think you've got some issues there. I also wonder on the appeal of the Avengers movies to the general audience, because I doubt most people who are going to see see these movies in theaters are pulling up to see the newer heroes team up for the first time. The appeal is less focused on the new cast and more so the hype of returning actors slash heroes from across the multiverse. The Doctor Doom casting announcement at San Diego Comic-Con became one of the top 15 most viewed videos on Instagram in only a few days. Secret Wars is probably going to be a giant cameo fest of old actors. Doomsday is more an ensemble cast, with the confirmed characters thus far being Sam Wilson as Captain America, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and the Thunderbolts. Shoot, according to Charlie Cox's personal trainer, Daredevil is going to have at least a minor role in the upcoming Avengers movie. I mean, all you have to do is lure Doctor Doom into a hallway and it's wraps for bro. Most people ain't really here to see Sam Wilson, they're here to see RDJ and Chris Evans come back, which is a shame because Sam Wilson as the new Captain America could have been one of the major pillars and focal characters of the MCU after Endgame, and a driving factor of the new Avengers. Captain Carter has made more appearances in Marvel projects than Sam Wilson has as the new Captain America. He hasn't even been mentioned in any live action Marvel projects since The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
You hate on a nigga. I don't understand why you hate on me, nigga.
We don't understand.
Show love, nigga. It don't show nothing. It don't cost nothing to show a nigga love.
All we doing
nigga.
is getting money.
Show a nigga some love, nigga.
Wabbly dabbly.
Niggas out here don't love me, nigga.
There could have been numerous choices for the next supposed trinity of the MCU, or at least characters that would lead us into the next big event and be the emotional attachment audiences had in terms of character growth, like in the Infinity Saga. Doctor Strange, I think, could have been a good choice in exploring the multiverse for an era of projects being titled the Multiverse Saga, since his actions were a catalyst in No Way Home and in Multiverse of Madness. However, for a movie titled Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, there wasn't as much exploration of the multiverse as one might have expected. The only sense of build-up we've gotten throughout these projects revolves around Kang the Conqueror and the stability of the timelines thanks to the TVA. One of the things I was a bit worried about when learning about Marvel's pivot to Doom was the lack of build-up for a character of his caliber. There's been zero mention of Latveria or Victor Von Doom in any of these movies and shows. Doesn't mean it's going to be a complete mess, it just means they have a lot of groundwork to do in setting up the proper foundations for the story at large. What's wild about seeing a new Avengers team is how unlikely it is to see them team up again after Secret Wars and after the end of the Multiverse Saga, or how likely it is they won't be the face of Marvel going forward since the next key characters are going to be mutants and the X-Men. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if Avengers Doomsday features the Earthbound heroes face off against Doctor Doom and whoever else. They get their butts whooped and it's up to a multiversal team of heroes in Avengers Secret Wars to stop the threat at large. I always suspected they'd bring back actors like Chris Evans at some point, but I'd always thought they'd save actors like him for Secret Wars instead of appearing in the 5th Avengers movie. It's crazy how they haven't produced a single Avengers movie without Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. But hey, despite any initial concerns I have going into this, I hope everything works out well at the end.